inoculant. Look at this bucket. Smells like wet earth and something slightly alive. I paid maybe $2 for everything in it, and right now there are more living organisms inside than there are humans on this entire planet. Before I explain what's in it, let me show you what it does first, because that's the part that made me take this seriously. That's the part I wish someone had shown me before I spent 2 years buying expensive bottles. Same soil, same seeds, same water source. One group of plants got the bucket solution, one group didn't. By week 3, the difference between them was honestly a little embarrassing to look at. The treated ones had darker leaves, thicker stems, and root systems that looked almost aggressive when I pulled them. My neighbor thought I'd switched to some kind of hydroponic setup. I hadn't. Same raised bed, same potting mix, same drip line. The only variable was this bucket sitting next to it that looked like something I probably shouldn't be using. So what's in the bucket? Potatoes, forest soil, water, a small pinch of sea salt. That's the entire ingredient list. No lab equipment, no expensive inoculants you mail order and hope arrive alive, no proprietary blend of anything. I found this while trying to fix a raised bed that just refused to perform. I'd amended the soil twice, added compost, tried a liquid seaweed product that cost $30 a bottle. Nothing was clicking. The plants grew, but they looked tired, pale, slow, like they were just surviving rather than actually growing. I'd been watching a video about Korean natural farming, KNF, and honestly, I almost clicked off. It sounded like one of those things people get very passionate about online and then you try it and nothing really happens. But the results in the video looked real, not staged, so I kept watching. The method is called JDAM Microbial Solution, JMS. It comes out of a Korean farming movement that's been around for about 60 years. I'm not going deep into the history because honestly that part isn't what matters. What matters is the biology behind why it actually works. The microbes in a healthy forest floor are completely different from what's in most garden soil. They've been building and evolving together for a very long time. Bacteria, fungi, nematodes, everything working in layers. When you scoop from that layer and introduce it to the right environment, you're not just adding organisms, you're importing an entire functioning system. That forest soil layer is the inoculant. 2 cups is all you need. You're not trying to add bulk, you're adding a starter culture, like using a spoonful of active yogurt to ferment a whole batch. The potato and water are just the environment for it to explode in.
I went to a park about 10 minutes from my house, found a big oak tree, scraped back the top layer of leaves, and took about 2 cups of the crumbly dark stuff just underneath. Felt genuinely strange carrying it home in a jar, like I was smuggling something. Now the potato. Microbes need energy to multiply fast, and starch is basically high-octane fuel for bacteria, easy to break down, dense in calories. 1 pound of potato gives the colony enough food to go from a small starter population to billions of organisms within a few days. Don't peel it. The skin matters. There are organisms living on the outside of that potato skin, wild bacteria and yeast, that contribute to the diversity of the final culture. You want as much biological diversity going in as possible. The more varied the community, the more resilient and productive it ends up being. The sea salt is the last piece. Not table salt, sea salt. The trace minerals in unrefined sea salt support microbial metabolism in ways that pure sodium chloride doesn't. You're not adding much, just a pinch per 5 gallons, but it makes a difference in the activity level of the finished solution. City tap water has chlorine in it, and chlorine's job is to kill microorganisms. That's great for drinking water, not great when you're trying to cultivate billions of them. Leave your water out in an open bucket or container overnight, and the chlorine dissipates on its own. Simple fix, non-negotiable step. I skipped this step the first time, used tap water straight from the hose, and the batch just sat there for 11 days doing absolutely nothing. No smell, no film, no bubbles, just a bucket of water with potato chunks slowly getting soft. I dumped it, started over with water I'd left out overnight, and within 4 days, the whole thing was actively fermenting. So the full setup: 5 gallons of dechlorinated water in your bucket, 1 pound of unpeeled potato chunks, 2 cups of forest floor soil, a small pinch of sea salt. Stir everything together, cover the top loosely with a cloth, it needs airflow, and put it somewhere warm and out of direct sun. For the first day or two, nothing visible happens, and that's normal. Don't touch it, don't stir it, just leave it. The organisms are establishing themselves in the new environment before they start multiplying aggressively. Think of it like the quiet phase before things kick off. By day 3 to 5, you'll notice a smell, earthy, slightly fermented, like forest floor after rain, but more concentrated. That smell means fermentation has started. The bacteria are actively metabolizing the starch and breaking down the potato. It's a good sign, even if it's a little strong. Around day 5, a thin white or cream-colored film starts forming on the surface of the liquid. A lot of people see this and panic and think something went wrong. It didn't. That film is a biofilm, a layer of microbial colonies. It's one of the clearest signs the culture is healthy and active. By day 7 to 10, the bucket is ready. The liquid is dark brown, smells earthy and fermented. The film has thickened slightly, and there are visible bubbles when you stir it. The microbial colony is fully established and actively producing. This is what you've been waiting for.
Now, here's the part I kept coming back to when I was trying to understand why this works so well. The microbes in this solution, while they're feeding on that starch, produce plant hormones as metabolic byproducts. Not synthetic approximations, the actual compounds, the same ones labs spend money synthesizing. Auxins promote root elongation and cell growth, basically telling the plant to push roots deeper and grow bigger cells. Cytokinins drive cell division and encourage lateral branching so plants get bushy and productive instead of just tall and spindly. These two alone explain a lot of what I was seeing in the treated plants. Gibberellins accelerate germination and trigger flowering. If you've ever had seeds that just sit in soil for weeks without sprouting, or plants that are slow to set flowers, this is the hormone group that moves those processes along. Watering seedlings with a diluted JMS solution from the start can noticeably speed up establishment. And there are 3 more hormone classes beyond those: abscisic acid, which regulates stress response, ethylene, which manages ripening and fruit drop, and compounds that regulate nutrient uptake efficiency. 6 total. This isn't a fertilizer in a traditional sense. It's more like a biological communication system for your plants. The population doubling every 48 hours is what makes this thing so interesting from a practical standpoint. You start with 2 cups of forest soil, maybe a few million organisms. Within 10 days, under good conditions, you have populations measured in the hundreds of billions per milliliter. That's what's going into your soil every time you water with it. When you apply it to soil, you're not just feeding the plant, you're rebuilding the microbial ecosystem in the root zone. Most garden soils have been depleted by years of synthetic fertilizer use, tilling, and lack of organic matter. The organisms that should be living there and supporting root health just aren't there anymore. This reintroduces them. Application is simple. Dilute 1 part solution to 20 parts water. That's it. Don't apply it undiluted. I've seen people do this and end up with root burn. The concentration of biological activity in the undiluted solution is too intense for direct root contact. Dilute it, drench the root zone, move on. You can also do foliar application. Spray it directly on the leaves. Dilute even further for this, around 1 to 50, and do it early morning so the leaves dry before midday heat. The microbes and hormone compounds absorb directly through the leaf surface, and the response time is faster than root application. You can see color changes within 48 to 72 hours. The leaf color shift is subtle but consistent. It's not dramatic overnight. It's more like the plant slowly turning up its own internal dial. By day 3, after foliar application, you start noticing that the green is just deeper, more saturated, and the new growth coming in is visibly more vigorous than what came before it. Apply once a week. Alternating between root drench 1 week and foliar the next works well. Don't do more than that. More is not better here. You want to support the biology, not overwhelm it. Weekly application keeps the soil ecosystem consistently stocked and active without creating any kind of imbalance. Now for the part that makes this genuinely different from buying a bottle of something. When you use your bucket, drawing off diluted solution for watering, you leave 10 to 20% of the liquid behind in the bucket. Then you top it back up with fresh dechlorinated water and add a new potato. The existing colony seeds the new batch instantly. Within 2 to 3 days, the new batch is fully active again. The established organisms hit the fresh starch and water and multiply fast. They already know the environment. There's no lag phase like the first batch had. You're essentially running a continuous living culture that never really resets. I've been running the same colony for months. That original scoop of forest soil is still in there, or more accurately, its descendants are. The culture has evolved and stabilized around my specific garden environment. Some growers report running the same colony for years. Tomatoes are where I've seen the most dramatic response. Fruit set improves noticeably, more flowers convert into actual fruit rather than dropping. The plants also seem to handle heat stress better, which I didn't expect. During a stretch of unusually hot days last summer, the treated plants wilted less and recovered faster overnight.
Peppers are slower to show visible changes, but the root development is where you notice it. I pulled a bell pepper plant mid-season to check, just curious, and the root ball was almost twice the size I'd expect from that variety in that container. That kind of root structure means the plant can access water and nutrients from a much larger soil volume. Cucumbers responded faster than anything else I tested. Growth rate visibly increased within the first 2 weeks, and I got first flowers almost 10 days earlier than my untreated plants. That might not sound like a big deal, but early flowering in cucumbers often means several extra weeks of harvest before the season ends. Leafy greens are more mixed in my experience. Lettuce responded well, faster growth, darker color, better texture, spinach less so. I don't have a solid theory for why. It might be a nitrogen sensitivity thing or something about spinach's specific root microbiome preferences. I'll still apply it, but at half the normal frequency. Skip it on succulents and cacti. I made this mistake once, thought more biology in the soil could only help. The plants didn't die, but they went soft and started showing signs of overwatering even on my normal schedule. These plants evolved for nutrient-poor, dry environments, and pushing biology at them disrupts that balance. Fruit trees I've only had 2 full seasons with, but I'm genuinely optimistic. The spring flush of new growth last year looked healthier and more vigorous than any previous year. I'm applying it as a root drench twice a month from bud break through midsummer and skipping fall and winter entirely. About the smell, I mentioned it earlier, but I want to be honest about it because nobody talks about this. At peak activity, days 5 through 9, the bucket has a strong, fermented, earthy odor. It's not disgusting, but it is noticeable. If your setup is close to a neighbor's fence or a patio you use regularly, you'll want to position it somewhere with airflow away from those areas. Once diluted for application, the smell is basically gone. At 1 to 20 dilution, there's a faint earthiness to the water, but nothing noticeable after it soaks in. The foliar spray at 1 to 50 has essentially no detectable odor at all. The smell is a processing phase thing, not a permanent feature of using it. This isn't a replacement for macronutrients. Your plants still need nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the basics. If your soil is genuinely depleted, this alone won't fix that. What it does is make your soil ecosystem function the way it's supposed to, which means the nutrients you do add, whether from compost or fertilizer, get taken up more efficiently. Think of it this way. You can put the best food in the world in front of someone with a broken digestive system and they still won't absorb it properly. Healthy soil microbiology is the digestive system for your garden. This bucket helps rebuild and maintain that system continuously. So, back to that bucket from the opening. $2, 1 potato, and a jar of park soil. And it produces a continuously self-renewing biological solution that does what commercial products try to replicate in a bottle. The difference is this one is actually alive and keeps getting stronger. The results from the beginning of the video: same soil, same seeds, same water. One group just had the bucket. Those are real, no additional inputs. The only variable was weekly application of this solution.
That gap you saw between the two groups just kept widening as the season went on.
One thing I want to address, the skepticism. Because when I first heard homemade microbial solution grown in a bucket, my immediate reaction was that this was going to be one of those things that sounds good online and does nothing in real life. I've been burned enough times by garden products that overpromise. So I ran it as a controlled test for a full season before I actually believed it. The control setup matters. If you just apply this everywhere and then say, wow, my plants look great, you haven't actually learned anything. Maybe it was the weather. Maybe it was the compost you added. One thing I want to address, the skepticism. Because when I first heard homemade microbial solution grown in a bucket, my immediate reaction was that this was going to be one of those things that sounds good online and does nothing in real life. I've been burned enough times by garden products that overpromise. So I ran it as a controlled test for a full season before I actually believed it. The control setup matters. If you just apply this everywhere and then say, wow, my plants look great, you haven't actually learned anything. Maybe it was the weather. Maybe it was the compost you added. Maybe it was just a good season. Run one treated bed and one untreated bed side by side with everything else identical. That's when you see what's actually doing the work. The other thing I've found useful is keeping notes on how the bucket smells and looks week to week. A healthy, active culture has a consistent profile, earthy, slightly sour, active foam when stirred. If it ever smells genuinely rotten or putrid rather than fermented, something went wrong. Usually that means anaerobic conditions. The cover was too tight and it didn't get enough airflow. If a batch goes wrong, just dump it and start fresh. It takes 10 days to build a new one from scratch and maybe 3 days to rebuild from a starter. The ingredients cost almost nothing, so a failed batch isn't a big loss. Don't try to save a bad batch by adding more potato or more soil. It rarely recovers, and you're better off with a clean start. One more practical note. Temperature matters more than most people expect. The ideal range for this culture is roughly 65 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Too cold, and the microbial activity slows dramatically. A batch that would finish in 7 days at 75 degrees might take 3 weeks at 50 degrees. In winter, if you're running this indoors or in a garage, put it somewhere that stays consistently warm. Near a water heater works really well. A cold bucket isn't a dead bucket, it just needs warmth to get going again. There's a more advanced version of this where you add fermented plant juice, FPJ, to the solution. It shifts the hormonal profile from root and vegetative growth toward flowering and fruiting. If you're growing heavy producers like tomatoes or cucumbers past midsummer, that shift makes a real difference. I'll cover that in the next video. Try the basic bucket first. Give it 2 full weeks before you judge it. The first week to establish the culture, the second week of actually applying it to see an early response. Don't apply it once and decide nothing happened. Soil biology takes time to shift, and the changes build week over week. Come back and tell me what happened. And if you're already running something like this, whatever version, drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you changed, what worked, and what didn't.